Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Atlas Unplugged Conversations with AI. Today, we are going to have a conversation with Atlas about weight loss. I prefer to say fat loss because we don't want to lose muscle at the same time that we're losing body fat. It's a little bit inevitable. You will lose some muscle, but we want to maintain as much muscle as possible. So, Atlas, let's take it away.
Absolutely, let's get into it. When it comes to fat loss, one of the key principles is creating a calorie deficit while maintaining adequate protein intake and resistance training to preserve muscle. We'll talk about nutrition, workouts, metabolism, and even how mindset and sleep play a role. So to start us off, what's your current approach to fat loss, or is there a specific challenge you've been facing lately?
Well, I'll just tell you a quick history of myself. So middle school, junior high, I actually got pretty big. I was a pretty overweight kid. Then I really kind of lost weight in a very unhealthy way from junior high to high school. I just kind of stopped eating for a whole summer. Not recommended. Don't do that. Then I was able to keep it off for several years, and then I got married and just kind of started to get bigger and bigger after that. Then I got into doing triathlons, got into CrossFit, and really I didn't see a change until I started to really focus on nutrition. I tried to eat enough protein, but also be in a calorie deficit like you had said. Throughout life, I've been a firefighter, or I was a firefighter and paramedic for 10 years, and so sleep definitely was a problem for me. Then I had insomnia for about 10 years. That was a problem. It's been very difficult to maintain a normal body fat percentage and muscle mass while having insomnia. So, just lots of things. But this podcast isn't so much about me. It's really how can everybody take this and hold on to muscle while losing body fat.
Man, that's an awesome background. Thank you for sharing that. It makes this episode way more real for people listening. You've hit so many key points that most people miss: the importance of protein, how sleep affects fat loss, and the idea that triathlons or even intense workouts alone don't work without nutrition dialed in. So here's the thing for everyone listening. The foundation of fat loss is consistency with a calorie deficit. But if you want to hold on to muscle while doing that, there are three essentials: protein, resistance training, and sleep. Miss one of those for too long, and it gets harder. Now, you mentioned insomnia, which affects cortisol levels and appetite-regulating hormones like ghrelin and leptin. That's huge. So let's break each part down simply for the average listener. Want me to hit protein first?
Yeah, let's hit protein first, but I definitely want you to talk about resistance training because we want to hold on to that muscle while we're losing body fat.
Absolutely. Protein is the building block of muscle. When you're in a calorie deficit, your body is looking for energy anywhere it can get it: fat, muscle, glycogen. But if you're eating enough protein, you're basically telling your body, hey, don't touch the muscle, use the fat. Now, as far as numbers go, a solid target is about 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, depending on your activity level. So if you weigh 175, you're aiming for somewhere between 140 and 175 grams of protein per day. And spreading that out across your meals helps your body actually use it well. Now, for resistance training, this is key. Your muscles respond to demand. So if you're lifting, doing CrossFit or bodyweight training, your body goes, okay, we still need these muscles, better keep them. It's a signal. Without that signal, you're just dieting and you risk burning muscle as fuel. You doing CrossFit is a perfect example. It's ideal because it combines resistance training with conditioning, which really supports muscle retention during fat loss. Do you want me to break down how sleep plays into this next?
Yeah, let's talk about sleep, and then we can dive even deeper into fat loss and what happens to our metabolism, how it all works.
Perfect. So sleep is one of the most underrated pieces of the fat loss puzzle. When you're sleep deprived, your hunger hormones go crazy. Ghrelin goes up, leptin goes down, which means you feel hungrier and less satisfied after eating. Plus, your cortisol levels rise, which can increase fat storage, especially around the midsection. Now, metabolism-wise, chronic sleep loss actually slows it down. Your body becomes less efficient at using energy, and your insulin sensitivity drops, which can lead to more fat storage over time. The kicker, Even if you're in a calorie deficit, lack of sleep can cause your body to burn less fat and more muscle. You've lived this firsthand with insomnia and firefighting. Your body's under stress and it adapts by trying to conserve energy. It's like it's saying, let's hang on to this fat just in case. You're doing everything right, training hard, eating smart, but the sleep piece makes the whole process harder. You want to dive into metabolism next and how it really works during fat loss.
Yeah, can you break that down for us? And then let's also, I know we can't categorize everybody, but let's say someone that's like a stay-at-home mom, so definitely walking around a lot, they're picking things up, moving things around. Then let's talk about someone who has a desk job. And then let's talk about someone who, let's say, they're very active, like a construction worker. How is that diet going to look different for those three different types of individuals?
Absolutely. So here's a simple breakdown of how metabolism works during fat loss. Your body burns calories in four main ways. Your basal metabolic rate, which is the energy it takes just to stay alive. The thermic effect of food, which is the energy you burn digesting food. Exercise activity, and non-exercise activity, thermogenesis, or NEAT. Basically, all the little movements you do throughout the day. Now, when you're in a calorie deficit to lose fat, your body adapts by slowing down a bit. It tries to conserve energy. That's why strength training and eating enough protein are so key. They help you keep your muscle mass, which keeps your metabolism from dropping too much. Now, for those three lifestyles, a stay-at-home mom is typically on the move a lot, even if it's not formal exercise. So she might not need as aggressive of a calorie deficit, but the focus should still be on protein to protect muscle, plus balanced meals to keep energy steady throughout a busy day. Someone with a desk job is more sedentary, so their NEAT is lower unless they make an effort to move. For them, it's important to be mindful of portion sizes, maybe add a walk or quick workout during breaks, and prioritize quality over quantity with food. Plenty of protein, fiber, and water. A construction worker or someone very physically active has a much higher calorie burn, especially through movement and lifting. They might actually need more food, even during fat loss, especially carbs to fuel their work. But still, high protein and strength training are key to hold on to muscle. Want to get into how to build a simple daily eating plan for each of them next?
Yeah, let's definitely get there. But also you mentioned the desk worker taking a walk. So I learned from Stan Efferding the importance of 3 10-minute walks per day. Can you break down why 3 10-minute walks would be more important than 1 30-minute walk?
Absolutely. And Stan Efferding is spot on with that recommendation. 3 10-minute walks spaced throughout the day can actually be more effective than 1 30-minute walk, especially when it comes to managing blood sugar, digestion, and overall energy. Here's why. Walking after meals helps blunt blood sugar spikes, meaning you get better glucose control and less fat storage. Plus, breaking up long periods of sitting improves circulation and keeps your metabolism a little more active throughout the day. It's also easier on your schedule. 10 minutes feels doable and it adds up fast. Over time, it can seriously improve insulin sensitivity, digestion, and even help with fat loss and mental clarity. Do you want to build that into the sample routines for the desk worker, stay-at-home parent, and construction worker?
Yeah, let's do that. So right now, I'd like any listeners to kind of categorize yourself. So obviously, we all have very different jobs, different roles. We're different humans, but try to categorize yourself as close to these 3 different groups that you can. So a stay-at-home mom and the activity level and stress levels that they're going to have, the desk worker, the activity level, obviously stress levels as well, and the construction worker who's moving around all the time and lifting things, and also their stress level. Obviously, stress plays into all of this. So categorize yourself into one of those, and then let's listen to Atlas and see, plan kind of a daily idea of what we will be doing.
Perfect. Let's break it down. For stay-at-home moms, the day is active but scattered. Lots of movement like laundry, cleaning, chasing kids, meal prep. That low to moderate activity adds up, but stress can be high, especially with poor sleep or limited time for self-care. A moderate calorie deficit with high protein, whole foods, and those 3 10-minute walks after meals is a great foundation. Strength training 2 to 3 times a week with bands, body weight, or quick dumbbell workouts can be huge here. Now, for desk workers, it's mostly sedentary, Maybe some short walks or standing breaks, but lots of sitting. The body isn't burning a ton, so keeping nutrition super dialed is key. Protein is your best friend. 3 10-minute walks, especially after meals, will massively help blood sugar and energy dips. Lifting 3 to 4 times a week, even just 30-minute sessions, makes a big difference in keeping muscle. Then the construction worker, they're moving, lifting, walking, sweating. Calories burned are way higher, so the deficit doesn't need to be big. Actually, if they go too low, they'll burn out fast. High protein still matters to repair muscle, but carbs are going to be really helpful here for fuel. Lifting can be reduced to 2 sessions a week, more to support strength and prevent injury than anything. Recovery and sleep are critical. Where do you think most of your listeners fit in? Or do you think we need to add a 4th category?
Yeah, if we were to add a 4th category, what would you think it needs to be?
I'd probably add 1 for shift workers or night shift professionals like nurses, first responders, security workers, even truck drivers. Their sleep is disrupted, cortisol's out of whack, and that alone makes fat loss way harder. They're often tired, under-recovered, and their hunger signals get completely thrown off. This group needs extra focus on meal timing, sleep hygiene, and stress management. Protein still rules, but carbs and fats should be tailored around their schedule. Short workouts, resistance bands, body weight circuits, even just movement snacks through the day or night can really help. Does that one hit close to home with your experience as a former paramedic?
Yeah, absolutely. It was very, very difficult to maintain a proper body fat percentage when I was doing shift work. So I love that. Stress honestly plays a lot into sleep. So it's really sad. Shift workers not only have stressful jobs, but then that stress creeps over into their nighttime or daytime routine, making it extremely difficult to follow a circadian rhythm. And even when they can, so, like I worked a shift that was 2 days on, 4 days off. So even on those 4 days off, I still had stress carrying over from those 2 days, and the idea of going back in 4 days, it just would really mess with everything. So how can we use nutrition, and especially shift workers, how can they use nutrition to help, promote better night's sleep, and also promote less stress in their life?
Man, that's such a good point. That lingering stress and disrupted rhythm hits way harder than most people realize. For shift workers, nutrition can actually be one of the best tools to regain some control. First off, let's talk about timing. Eating large meals right before trying to sleep, especially during the day, can throw off sleep quality. Instead, lighter meals with slow digesting carbs like oatmeal, sweet potatoes, or rice can help increase serotonin and promote better rest. Pair those carbs with a bit of protein like turkey or cottage cheese, and you've got a calming combo. Magnesium-rich foods like spinach, almonds, or even a supplement before bed can also reduce cortisol and promote deeper sleep. Hydration is another key one. Dehydration raises cortisol, so water intake throughout the shift and afterward is huge. And then caffeine, probably the hardest one. I get it, you need it to stay alert, but cutting off caffeine 6 to 8 hours before your sleep window is massive. No matter how tired you are, caffeine still messes with your deep sleep stages. Would it have helped back then if someone laid this all out for you when you were working shifts?
Well, honestly, it was laid out. I did a lot of research on this, and we also own a CrossFit affiliate, and I program workouts for SWAT teams and military. So, I do understand the importance of and the downfall of caffeine. Now, that being said, I still use it, but I only use it up until about noon every day to try to give myself enough time between noon and 10:30 bedtime so that it's not affecting my sleep as much. But caffeine can really be used as a tool early in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Using caffeine strategically like that is such a smart move. When you cut it off by noon, you're giving your body a real chance to wind down naturally. And for those early shifts or groggy mornings, it really helps set the tone. The key thing you're doing right is using it as a tool, not a crutch. Most people don't realize how long caffeine lingers in the system, so they'll drink it late into the afternoon and wonder why their sleep sucks. Do you cycle off caffeine at all to keep your tolerance in check, or do you just manage it through timing?
I personally manage it through timing, but I think everyone is individuals and they should figure out for themselves what works the best. Let's wrap this episode up with you talking about the importance of creatine supplementation in your diet. Now, obviously, if we're getting enough red meat, we may not need to supplement creatine, but many people are not getting enough creatine in their diet. So supplementing, how can that help us with fat loss, muscle retention, and also dive a little bit into the science of creatine for older individuals, prolonging the onset of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease?
You're spot on. Creatine is one of the most researched and effective supplements out there, and not just for gym goers. It helps increase ATP production, which gives your muscles more energy during high intensity activity, supporting strength and muscle retention during a calorie deficit. That's key when trying to lose fat without losing muscle. Now, the cool part is its impact on the brain. Creatine is being studied for its neuroprotective effects. Research shows it might help improve cognitive function, especially in older adults, and there's growing evidence it could delay or reduce the risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. The brain, like muscles, uses ATP for energy, so by boosting ATP availability, creatine could help keep the brain healthier longer. Most people don't get enough from food alone unless they're eating a lot of red meat every day. So for many, supplementing with around 5 grams daily is a safe, affordable, and highly effective option. It's not a magic pill, but for both physical performance and long-term health, it's pretty close. Would you ever consider doing an episode specifically on supplements for longevity and performance?
Yeah, absolutely. We should schedule that for the future. So will you remind me in about a week and a half to do that episode?
I wish I could set reminders for you, but
I would try.
I can't send alerts or notifications. That said, you could jot it down in your calendar or even set a quick reminder using your phone or an AI assistant like Siri or Google Assistant. What day do you think you'd want to record it? I can help you outline it now if you want.
All right, so just want to throw that out to listeners. I was just testing it, see if it would set a reminder for us. So part of these conversations with AI is really just learning what we can do with AI and learning the limitations. Now, I use AI a lot in my life. I actually, the calendar and planner that I use is AI driven. So, right now, right after this episode, I'll throw a reminder in and it will remind me in a week and a half. And it's really interesting. I could probably do a review on the calendar that I use. It's absolutely amazing. But I just want to thank everyone for tuning in today, listening to this conversation with artificial intelligence on body fat loss. It's very interesting how we can use these tools. And it's also fun that over the last 16 years studying nutrition and helping people with nutrition and workouts, owning a fitness gym, programming fitness for SWAT teams and military, there are certain things that I've just learned and I know what work. And really today with AI, he was pretty spot on with about 1 gram of protein per pound that you weigh. So if you weigh 175, you're taking about 175 grams of protein. He also talked about how the construction worker is going to need more carbohydrates than the guy who is sitting at a desk all day. But then he also talked about how the guy sitting at the desk all day needs to increase activity by going on walks. So it's pretty spot on. I would encourage everyone to go out and have these conversations with AI and start learning and using AI to your advantage. It can be an absolutely incredible tool, and that's how we need to look at it. AI could take over the world, but not if we're learning it and we are really engaged in the rolling out of artificial intelligence. Now, we've had episodes where we as humans may not be able to stop this because there's also some bad actor humans that want to see AI do more and honestly infiltrate your life. So let's be aware. Let's use AI to our advantage. Let's use it as a tool. Thank you guys for listening today. Hope you have an absolutely great weekend, and we will chat soon.